Hi everyone, I'm here to speak today about how the current topics in the units that we've covered see myself as a participant in a liberal democracy. Firstly, I've learned about a lot of things that are threatening our democracy that I didn't really realize were such an intense threat. I don't think a lot of other people realize that either. For example, our attention being constantly taken away by ads, apps. It's become such a normalcy, I feel like, to everyone, that it may make people uncomfortable or be hard to convince them that it is a threat to democracy. Not being able to maintain attention. It also might make people feel insulted or self-conscious that they realize that they haven't or can't sustain attention anymore without checking their phone, which is a huge threat to democracy. Which leads me to my next thought, which was the topic of neoliberalism. So not only do we learn that all of these corporations that are data mining and taking our attention away are also, it's meant to be this way, essentially, within capitalism and neoliberalism. You're conditioned to, from a very young age, conditioned to be a good worker. Essentially, you're preparing for the workforce and you're preparing to be fast and efficient and organized. And I'm not saying that these qualities are bad. However, the goal is to improve the market and not necessarily to have that individual exploration, that valuable experience that students are meant to have in higher education. And it also, as I was just speaking about, how it doesn't lend itself to having informed citizens in a democracy either. So that's the first bit that I'd like to acknowledge. As an emerging information professional learning about all of these things, I just wish that there was a way to get people to understand that it's a threat. As Dr. Jones was saying in his lecture, just getting people to be aware of these things is part of the battle. So I think if there was a way to inform the public of these threats, that would be very helpful to preserving our democracy as we know it. It's also felt, as I've mentioned in some of our discussions, it's also felt fairly meta to be speaking about learning management systems on a learning management system in higher education. I'm assuming that I'm interested in, and I'm assuming that Canvas and IUPUI, has an unbiased algorithm and they are good to work with, because doesn't seem like Dr. Jones would want to align himself with, with any unethical practices. So I'm assuming that these learning management systems are working well, and in which case, how so? I'm curious if they are audited by a diverse group of people, or if they follow those kinds of rules. We learned about that in our information policy class, about how these policies and these algorithms need to be audited often and documented, that they had been audited and revised, and that it should all be transparent. You should be able to see as a member of the public that that is what is going on. I did also find it really interesting to know about how people were actually just as scared of newspapers, and how that may affect people's minds, just as people feel the same way about social media today. And I'm sure that people felt that way about radio and television, and so I did find that interesting. I also found it interesting that Lee was so bold in stating that his goal was to change people's minds. His goal was to be the moral authority. And so it makes me think that maybe in modern day society, we should be wary of anyone or anything who is trying to be the moral authority and try to censor people, essentially censor books, which I think we all already feel that way, but just something to be aware of, that history could repeat itself, as it often does. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing everyone else's thoughts.